Welcome to the Nurtured Nerds Epic Podcast.
Come join us and get cuddly, get gaming, get nerdy,
and get
nurtured. Welcome, everybody. This is the podcast where we talk about nerdiness, connection, cuddling, and what that means for our wellness. On this episode, number 29, we are exploring the future of professional cuddling and cuddle events. What will that look like in 2024 or even 2034? We will find out and also nerd out on some of our favorite cuddles and let you know what's going on in our community of nerds, cuddlers, and gamers, including a free package raffle for new members. If you're watching or listening to this podcast on YouTube, please hit the like and subscribe button. We really appreciate that. And give us a comment. Let us know what you think and what you're nerding about. We want to hear from you.
Thank you, Jo. So I am Alyssa, aka the IRL support main, the creator of Nurtured Nerds, and I'm here with my lovely co-host Jo. So what would you like to share about yourself, Jo?
I would like to share that I'm feeling very present, very excited, and I'm drinking ginger and fennel tea that I've made myself, a blend. And I'm excited about creativity at the moment.
Thank you.
How about you? What are you excited about, Alyssa?
I recently started going to in-person community cuddle events again, hosted by Grace. So that's been really wonderful. And I've been getting my space ready to offer in-person sessions again and just getting back into things. I had a recent move and just health things that kept me in a different state. But now I'm feeling very alive. A lot of things have been shifting for me lately, and I am owning the IRL support main, who I want to be as that so much more lately. And I'm drinking roasted dandelion root tea. It's one of my favorites with some almond milk.
Delish.
We also have Grace, the wonderful Grace, with us, and Mary, who we all know so well. Please introduce yourselves, whatever you want to share.
Oh, I'll go first. Okay, so yeah, I'm Mary. Hi. I'm currently talking to you from Salt Lake City, which I've been in other locations recently, but probably will be again. But right now I'm in Salt Lake. And I just facilitated a cuddle party, and I ran in and ate some dinner and came here. So, so I'm feeling a little, you know how cuddling feels. It's all good. Yeah, but it's fun to get into that again. And I am drinking water. Water, my favorite.
H2O.
Yep.
Awesome. Mary, I'm just a little bit jealous of your oxytocin high.
Yep.
So my name is Grace. I'm in Orange County, California, and you can find my website at gracefulcuddles.com. I am super excited about nature today, just because I spent the day at a botanical garden and it was just so, I took like 1.5 bazillion pictures. Every flower was photo worthy. It was just beautiful. And I'm double fisting today. I've got water and I have some pumpkin rooibos tea.
Ooh, that sounds really good.
Nice. I have to say, it feels kind of weird to not be the host. So, Jo and Alyssa, if I step on your toes, just say, "Hey, Mary, not your hat today." But I actually am looking forward to just being a panelist. I think that'll be fun. So,
yeah, sit back and relax.
I was just about to say.
Nice.
Great minds. Great minds.
Yeah. It's already happening.
So I think first on our agenda is we're going to talk about what first got you into cuddling. Question for everyone. How did you hear about professional cuddling and cuddle events?
I'll go. No one else wants to? Or-
Go for it, Mary.
Sure. I actually heard about Cuddle Party, man, like 15 years ago now, I guess. I have to revise my years every time I tell this story. But but I looked around and I saw that, oh, that's not happening in Salt Lake. So I was like, oh, well, that would be nice. And then I just said, I guess it's not happening. And about 5 years after that, I went on Meetup and I was looking for connections and fun things to do. And I saw that there was a cuddle club. And I was so excited. I was like, I heard about that and I wanted to do it. And now there is one. I was so excited, but nervous too. I mean, we all are, right? But and so I went to Cuddle Party. There was another facilitator who had my same story. She heard about it. She was in Salt Lake, saw that nobody else was doing it. And she went and got trained and became a certified facilitator and started doing it here. That never even occurred to me that I could do that. So I will always be so grateful to her because she has literally changed my life. If she hadn't been here doing it, I would not be on this path. I wouldn't know all of you guys. I wouldn't know 3/4 of the people in my inner circle. So yeah, anyway, I went to my first cuddle party. It was fantastic. I was nervous, but I loved it. And I said, I need to do this. I need to make this happen for myself. So I became a facilitator within about 6 months after that. Yeah, so I love the message. I love the empowerment. I love helping people. And I want people like that in my community who know how to communicate, how to set up their expectations, how to, have healthy communication, not use these manipulative things that our culture teaches us we're supposed to do. So I want that for my world. So I decided I was gonna put it out there, and yeah, doing it literally an hour ago is like I'm high on it right now. So yes, I need to keep doing that. So
yes, every time I have a good cuddle, it just reinforces this is what I want to focus my life on, is creating more of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, definitely. So that's why I'm here.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mary.
You're welcome.
How about you, Grace?
Well, I have, so in 2015, both my parents died 10 weeks apart, and boy, was that rough. That's kind of like the understatement of the universe right now. But, and I had never heard of cuddling. I was already certified as a coach, and I was doing some coaching work and stuff. It took 2 years, and then I saw a BuzzFeed video about Cuddle Sanctuary and professional cuddlers, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool and kind of weird, and I could do that, and I could probably use some of that. And so but I didn't do anything about it. Gee, did Mary just tell the same story? Because I didn't realize that Cuddle Sanctuary was, just an hour from my house. So time when I told a friend about it, and he's like, oh, that's weird. I would never do that. Like, okay. Then a year later, he came to, we were chatting, and he said, hey, I did this thing that I think you would enjoy. It's called Cuddle Sanctuary. And I'm like, dude, you stole my thing. That was my thing. I was going to do that. So then I went, I was sold. I felt after 2.5 years of grief and depression and sadness and not feeling fully myself, one cuddle group, and I was lighter. I was in a good mood for a week and a half, and that's significant. And so I knew this is important work, and I need to add this tool to my toolkit. So I did. Within, I think, 6 months, I was certified as a one-on-one cuddler as well as a cuddle group facilitator. And I just think it's the most important work.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing.
How about you guys, Jo? I don't think I've heard Jo's story yet.
Oh, Oh, wow. I think I saw it on Facebook on 60-second documentaries. Faye from Cuddle Sanctuary was talking about it, and I was like, that's so awesome. I can do that. And I'd already been going to some cuddle events in Fremantle, where I live in Australia. That's got nothing to do with cuddle party, but it was, yeah, platonic cuddling. And I was like, yep, I can do that. And I was going through a period of time where I felt touch starved and touch deprived, and there was nobody in my area in Perth doing professional cuddling. So yeah, a friend said, "Well, why don't you do it? You can do it." And I was like, "Heck yeah, I can do that!" And I just did the cuddlist course and never looked back. Pretty simple, straightforward. I thought if nobody's doing it, if nobody's offering what I want, then I'm going to offer it.
Yes.
You know, I'm going to be that person to step up. And it was a calling. It felt really good in my body. It felt exciting and also super vulnerable, which was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. Yeah, I love it.
Isn't it fascinating that each of us, oh, well, we haven't heard Alyssa's story yet, but I know a little bit of it. And we're going to hear it after I stop talking. But I think it's fascinating that each of us, after our first experience with Cuddle Party or with a cuddle event or a cuddle experience, each of us was like immediately, this is important. This is something that I need to do. This is something I need to add to my rut. So I just think it's fascinating, and it speaks to me, it speaks to the power of platonic nurturing touch and how important that is in the world.
Mm.
Our
How about you?
producer Gita typed "cuddle pioneer" in the chat, and it got me. It sparked in me this thought of like, this industry, even after all these years, is still relatively new and relatively small, and it's like each person who decides to do this, to offer this professionally, has to be a pioneer in some way. And I hope we can talk more about that today. I have a lot to say around that with regards to my own work in cuddling. But in terms of how I got started, I read an article in the Penny Hoarder. It's a blog, and Samantha Varneren had done an interview, and it was basically different kinds of side hustles you can do to make money. And I was like, that's a thing? Oh my God, because I had always loved cuddling since I was very little. I was very, very cuddly when I was small. And then it's probably a very common story. Like, it was conditioned out of me. That's like, people will get the wrong idea if you're always touching everyone or very affectionate. So I learned to repress that a lot. And at the time, I'd been in a very dark place, mental health wise. I was in a very toxic living situation, and it was just kind of this ray of hope that shined down, this like golden beam that was like, that's possible. Like, this beautiful thing exists in the world. And I wasn't quite in a place yet to take that on. But a few months later, I moved, and I immediately tried to find training for it. I tried training with Snuggle Buddies, and I worked with them initially, and that was not the best experience. But later on, I trained with Cuddlist, and then eventually Cuddle Sanctuary. And just the more people I met who were doing this work, and the more people I met at cuddle events, the more I fell in love with it. And it's definitely, I've said this to a friend the other day. I'm like, this has ruined me for all other life pursuits. Like, this is just too beautiful.
Yeah, I feel that sometimes. It's so unique.
Yeah. I've done a fair amount of training and work in other modalities. I've mentioned this in other podcast episodes before. I've studied shamanic energy medicine, and I've studied, some psychotherapy stuff like cognitive behavioral therapy. And when I did the Cuddle Sanctuary training, I read The Body Keeps the Score, and that was very informative for me. And I've read stuff about, energetics, the energy fields, and I've learned about trigger points and, muscles, how they work, and massage, and a little bit of that. So I just kind of fold all these things, all these experiences into what I offer and to how I show up and hold space. And it's been really wonderful. Meditation's another big one. Jo and I both have been engaged with an online community called Evolving Out Loud, and that's very meditation based. Yeah, it's all, I feel like it all feeds into each other and offers this really wonderful sort of I think Grace has used this term before. It's like tools in your tool belt, or maybe Mary has said that as well.
Yeah.
So,
I
cuddling
like
is
having
just,
all the tools in my toolbox, for
yeah.
whatever
All the
my
tools.
clients or my people at my events need, I can pull it out and say, or
Mhm.
at least I know enough about it so I can refer them to other people.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it's important to have a really strong network of folks that you can refer to as well. Even as a coach or as a grief coach, grief companion. I'm not a therapist, but I know several that I can contact and put my folks in touch with. So
It's
I think
another
that's
big
really
one, yeah. And I know you've done some work around death, end of life care, death dueling, and like all of that just blends together so beautifully. And I've worked with you, helping me through some of my grief, and learned so much from that process.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to another question. So again, question for both of you. Looking back on it, how much did the COVID pandemic impact the cuddle industry? What lessons have been learned from this moment in history? Would anybody like to comment on that?
wow. So I'll say that COVID absolutely affected the cuddle industry, like in tremendously negative ways. It's really hard to do your work when your work is face to face, be in person, and you can't do that. And so, and that said, like the lessons learned, we need for me, like the lesson learned is we really need people. We need connection. We need connection in both physical and emotional. And when we don't get it, life is harder.
Yeah, I would say the immediate effect was really horrible because I had a really great community. We were doing group events twice a month. I was actually starting to actually earn money that I could use to pay my bills, and we had momentum, and then I had to stop that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was really hard to swallow, actually, because I was like, I had worked so hard to get to that place and it was happening. And I had an office. I had just gotten, like, that December, I put up an office that I was going to try to use for the personal cuddling. And yeah. And then I was away in January anyway. And then we closed down like February, March, or whatever it was. So I had an office for like 1 month that I could use.
Oh, Mary.
So yeah, I know. It was just, I thought it was all happening, and then it was like, nope, just kidding.
Life has got something else for you.
So yeah, I had to transition and try to learn how to connect my community through online ways, which fortunately we have this venue to connect. It is better than nothing, and we learned how to use it, which I think is a good outcome.
Yes.
So of course and I know there were some professional cuddlers that just lost their livelihood because they couldn't do their job, which is terrible. And some of them haven't come back, which they moved on, which I understand. You gotta put food on the table. But I do think there are some really good takeaways, kind of what Grace was saying, that the larger world as a whole has figured out that we need the connection, and that's what cuddling is. So I feel like as people look at us from the outside, the pandemic has shown them that, yeah, this is a real thing and we need it. We need touch. We need to learn how to communicate with other people. We need the social. And we took it for granted before, but now that we've been without it for a couple of years, we're not taking it for granted anymore. And we know the value of cuddling, which I don't know. I think it would have taken us another 20 years to figure that out for the larger population, maybe. But so we fast tracked that. So I wouldn't say that I like it, but I appreciate that that is an outcome. So I like it. There are good outcomes out of our experience of the pandemic.
Yes.
So I like to try to look at those of like, yeah, people understand more of why we need cuddling now, which is fantastic. So.
Yeah. I absolutely agree with that. And I think too, like the fact that we couldn't operate our businesses the way we were used to, it did give birth to a whole lot of different creative ways.
Yeah.
And that, I think that was a benefit. And like, yeah, I mean, I learned, oh, okay, yeah, I can pivot. I can, and boy, did I get tired of that word, but I can do something different, and there are other ways that I can create community. And it was, and I also feel like it kind of brought the cuddling community together and gave, like, I never would have met Jo, I never would have met Mary if I hadn't, you know, if we hadn't begun connecting and exploring with these virtual tools that we have, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. And I think there's less taboo now around the word isolation, where when somebody says, oh, I feel isolated, people are like, yeah, I know. Because people have actually now experienced it in their body, what it feels like to feel isolated. So yeah, I think that's a big plus now. It's not so much of a taboo thing.
Right. And it's like we take it seriously, you know, not just, oh, I know, but oh, you feel isolated. No, let me help you, because we all know what it's like, and we want it to be different.
Yeah, there's more compassion now.
Yes.
Around it. For sharing that.
What other shifts have you been noticing in the cuddle industry and the community the past couple of years? So, like for me, I've noticed that there have been more combinations of things, or more things where it's like touch and connection weren't like a conscious intentional thing added to a community event, like in the same kind of way that it is at like a cuddle event, but now that tends to be more of a common thing. Or either that, or it was just that I started noticing that more and I started seeking that out more.
I think there is a lot more crossover with other modalities doing the kind of things that we do in the cuddle work. I call it cuddle stuff, all my cuddle stuff. Where I talk about communication and empowerment and boundaries and consent and all of that work, wheel of consent, you know, all of these ideas that help us communicate and have a healthy connection by setting up our expectations and having good communication. And then practicing those things through the medium of touch. I've seen a lot of other people figuring that out or riffing off of us, or, you know, which is fine. But yeah, it's really interesting to see like all the different iterations that are happening now of this same type of concept that is happening in all kinds of other places now. And I love it. I think it's great. Yeah. So.
Thank you. Grace, have you seen any shifts recently? Any other shifts in the industry?
You know, I don't know if it's just because my mind wandered a little bit, but the question didn't really resonate with me. So I wonder if you want an answer, Can you ask me the question in a different way?
Ooh.
Or we can just move on to the next question. I'm fine with that too.
No,
Yeah.
I love that response, Grace.
Yeah, thank you
And
for
I,
your
and I think that
honesty.
actually kind of answers the question is we've gotten better at communicating what we really want and don't want. Like that definitely has been reflected in so many areas of our society, definitely in the labor, like in like just unionizing and labor movement and like politically and just like in all these different spheres and all these ways that it comes together, we've learned to speak up more about what works for us and what doesn't. So that's a shift I've noticed.
Yeah. I will say that there's a whole lot more conversation about consent, which is wonderful. And I'm glad to be part of that conversation. Because and particularly as we were coming out of the isolation and coming out of the COVID sort of shutdown, people had a whole lot of different levels of comfort when it came to touch, when it came to being close, when it came to and so it became the norm to ask, would you like to hug? Do you want, or someone would put out their hand and the other person say, I don't shake hands, but I'll elbow bump you instead, so there like a whole lot more consent practices in play. And I think that's certainly a benefit. So I guess I did have something to say. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I think it's great.
Don't be sorry for having something to say. I mean, you can if you want to, but you don't need to.
Well, and another shift that I've seen just within the people that do this work is that we're growing up and we've been doing it a long time now. Like somebody asked me today how long I've been doing this, and I look back and I'm like, wow, like 9 years. Oh my gosh, that's a long time. And our folks that started this, that were in before me, they're really starting to burn out. And unfortunately, we've had some of our industry leaders are stepping back. Well, not unfortunately, they're taking care of themselves, which I really appreciate, that it's time for them to step back. But yeah, if it's what's the right? It feels like it's a loss for us, but of course that's what happens. You age, you do things, you age out, and then you don't do it anymore, right? And we're getting to that level because we've been doing it for so long. And so yeah, it's an interesting shift to have some of these people that I've just really looked up to as like they are the core cuddling gurus, and they're not available to us anymore. So that's a little sad, but it also shows how we're aging.
I believe we're always evolving, and there's
Right.
always things coming through.
Yeah.
And who knows, you could be that guru that you're looking for. I don't know.
Yep, the next generation of gurus. Here we are. We got everybody step up. Here we go.
I don't think I want to be.
You don't want to be a guru, Grace?
I don't know. I'll happily be a guide and a
good.
companion, but not a guru.
I know. I'm just playing.
Well, I think use your own name. That's what they say in the big mentor, people. You could say, I'm a guy.
Well, let's pivot and talk about colleges and universities, because I like this question. Do you think will cuddle training and workshops become courses available at higher education places? Do you see on-campus professional cuddlers teaching consent and offering services to the lonely and touch deprived?
I sure hope so.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, I think that universities are a brilliant place to have those conversations, if not even high schools. But I know that working with folks who are under the age of consent can be tricky. But I absolutely think that colleges and universities, it's important to have, especially if someone has not had a strong sense of of self and body and physical autonomy in their youth, in their growing up, whether they just haven't had the examples or whatever. I think it's absolutely important to let's, just like we don't teach people how to balance their checkbook or to do their taxes, let's we don't teach that either in school. So let's teach it, you know, because not everybody has those examples growing up.
Even if it's just to bring awareness, you know, just bringing the awareness of consent and boundaries. I think it's huge for young people to be aware of.
Absolutely. I spoke to a middle-aged woman yesterday who said, I was never told that I could say no. Like when she was, you know, for example, go give grandma a hug. She was never able to say no to that. And that was the beginning of the loss of her physical autonomy. Like, she was, and that's just sort of like, that made me so sad. You were never told that you could say no. Wow. And what kind of messes might, could she have gotten involved in, or what could she have avoided if she had learned no is a complete sentence, right?
It's heartbreaking. But that's why our work is so crucial and it's so empowering.
Yeah.
It's so fired up about it. How about you, Mary? What are your thoughts on?
I don't think it's going to go into universities, although that would be very interesting. I think it's going to be more of like these extracurricular programs, pretty much how we do it now, but everybody will do it. They'll take off and go do a Cuddle retreat certification or something, and then I don't know. I wish it was mainstream, honestly, because it's life skills. I mean, and our culture teaches us the wrong way. I mean, absolutely, our culture teaches us the wrong way to do these things, and we've got to somehow break that cycle. And I do wish we could get to the young people before they're ingrained with this programming that has been detrimental to all of us. I say it a lot. Like, I really would love to get to people before they're broken, and they're trying to fix themselves and they're reaching out to look at this. But I was like, I wish I could train work with the youth or young people. I just don't see how it could be integrated into college, though. But that's fascinating idea. I wish. Actually, I mean, it really should be in high school, and it should start in elementary, like the Our Whole Lives program from the UCC. It's sex positivity for every age, and they've got a curriculum that's age appropriate. Of like, for our young people, our young 5-year-olds, you don't have to hug grandma. I mean, that's what they teach them in this class. So and as you get up to like 10 and like figure out what's the age appropriate way to teach these people consent and boundaries. I mean, that one is kind of a little geared towards sex, sexual and sexuality. But anyway, so the curriculum has been developed by people for all ages, and we just need to get it out there. And it really should just be like every human needs to take this, whether it's in school or out or at church or whatever.
Yeah, I remember years ago on Facebook, there were all those videos going around of the kindergartners lining up, and as they go into the class, they have a list on the wall and they get to choose how they greet the teacher or another student. And so that's teaching choice, and that's teaching, autonomy, bodily autonomy. Can't say that word, but you know what I mean.
Autonomy.
Autonomy. Autonomy. Anyway, so I used to think those videos were really cool. They get to high five, or they get to do a non-physical,
a non-touching choice.
Non-touching choice, which is like a little dance or shimmer. I love that. The choice was there to not touch. Oh, that was so powerful. But I haven't seen any of those videos for a few years. But anyway, it's happening. It's out there.
Yeah.
Well, pivoting off of that, with Grace's favorite word, have you, now that things are starting to shift back a little bit, things are opening up with in-person events more, are any of us, are you seeing more physical spaces dedicated to that, to cuddling, or maybe, you know, adjacent offerings? And apparently, according to Gita, there are cuddle cafes in Japan. That sounds amazing. And could there one day be a cuddle retreat, a cuddle camp, a cuddle wellness themed park? That sounds awesome too. And he mentioned Cuddle Up to Me. I actually only know very cursory amounts about Cuddle Up to Me, so maybe someone else knows a little bit more about that.
The training program?
Yeah, or the physical space that she had.
Oh, yeah.
Had created.
Is that still going? Where you can walk in and it's like a shop front. You walk. Is that still happening? Is that still open?
It's not. The Cuddle Up to Me was in Portland, Oregon. It was a storefront cuddle space, and unfortunately, it fell to the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I love the concept, and I wonder if there are folks who might want to, you know, re-energize that idea and bring it back, bring that kind of thing back.
I heard
the right time for that.
Yeah, when I mention cuddling to some people, they go, "Oh yeah, there's cafes in Japan that do that." So that's I don't think that's anything new. The Japanese cafe cuddling, I think that's been going for quite a long time. But I've heard people say they wouldn't walk into a shop front that has this big sign over the top saying cuddling, because still people feel shame and embarrassment over having to maybe, you know, pay for cuddling. So maybe that's one of the reasons there's not many shop fronts in the world that have this big sign that says cuddle. It might have to be called something else, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, what was the one that got closed down? It was Snuggle something. There was one in Chicago or somewhere where they had yeah, anyway. But they couldn't, I mean, they just had so much scrutiny and innuendo, and they had to close.
Yeah, I saw that on a documentary. Was it in Wisconsin or somewhere? A guy was running it, but then it got shut down.
It got shut down. Yeah, but that was 10 years ago. So, you know, I'm hoping we might be ready for something. I have wanted to do like a drop-in cuddle cafe where people could just come and do a little orientation and, you know, have a place to hang out where everybody understood what that was. That'd be amazing. Yeah. Wouldn't that help so many people if you just knew there was a safe place to go when you needed a hug?
Yeah. So now, Mary, I want to sit down and talk with you about what would that look like and how would we staff it and what would, you know.
I actually thought about it quite a bit, and I wrote some things out because I really was thinking about it. I would have loved to figure out how to make that happen. But yeah, I do have some ideas. If you want to talk about it, Grace, I'd love to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's go to another question. Do you see more conventions and expos in the future of cuddling? And what would make them bigger and better? Or maybe a tour, a snuggle tour.
Well, I do know some folks who have some professional cuddlers who have done tours where they go city to city and book clients in each city. I would love, I think I might be the newest cuddler in this group because I was just coming onto the scene when Cuddle Expo happened in 2018. And and so I was not able to attend. And as far as I know, that's the only Cuddle convention that there's been.
As far as I know,
Correctly? Okay.
the only big one. I mean,
Yeah.
there's little get-togethers and there's trainings from different companies, where they have trainings in person at certain places. That's not really an expo, but
Yeah.
I'd love to have a CuddleCon.
Yeah.
CuddleCon 2024. Let's do it.
And
okay.
everyone's in onesies. Yay. Love it.
Yeah, Cuddle Expo was epic, and it was amazing to get all the cuddlers together, and I so loved it. And it happened because a couple people said, let's do it. So that's what we need again. I've actually talked to Faye and Keely, who were integral movers in the Cuddle Expo, and Faye is willing to help somebody and give them all her notes, and Keely was interested in being involved again. I mean, this was a while ago, so of course we'd have to check in with them again. But I'm like, yeah, it could happen again if we got someone who wanted to drive it, and we get enough people who are like, I need to make this happen. That's what it takes. That's all. I mean, that's all it takes, but that is so much of what it takes. It's like, that's all, but it's this big.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is. It's a big undertaking, and it's the issue that we all have of doing this work, of that we love it. Yes, we do, and we don't do it for the money. However, we've got to feel like we have a good enough exchange so we don't get burnt out, right?
Yeah.
So that's the problem with the Cuddle Expo and with doing this work of figuring out how do we take care of ourselves while we do this kind of thing. And if somebody does take on doing an expo or a conference, how can we organize it so that they're just not, donating 50,000 hours, because that's just not sustainable for any of us.
Right.
Yeah, that's be a good support network, so it feels light and playful and fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the problem at the moment, because I know there are quite a few of us that actually would love to get involved in getting the expo up, but I don't know, it needs the right mover and the right shaker to make it happen. So, but it's completely possible.
It's totally possible.
And I really hope it happens again. And if it does, I will help.
I caught that, Jo. I caught what you were doing there.
You caught that? Good.
Wait, what were you doing? I missed it. I'm sorry.
Said it's totally possible. And that's one of the games that we play in the Evolving Out Loud community that I'm with Alyssa.
Ah.
Riff off of what's possible. You just say it's totally possible, ... and you fill in the blank, and you just riff off of that. And then it puts you in a frequency of possibilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Anytime anything has ever happened, it's just because one person steps up and says, I want to do this, and another person steps up and says, I will help you. And then it goes from there. So that's how it happens. Yeah. Simple, but very difficult.
They're completely possible.
Absolutely possible.
Anything's possible.
That's right.
Where the magic happens.
I'm really good at being the one who says I will help you.
That's what most of us are, it's hard to be the one who is the driver. It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's okay. You got to know where you're at and what you're willing to do.
Yeah.
There was some other aspect of that question though, so I'm gonna pull a Grace and say, could you remind us what the question was? Because then something else came up for me, and I lost it in this first part of the question.
Was it the Cuddle tour part?
The touring?
Oh, Cuddle touring. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's interesting, but I just don't know how you would connect with clients I don't know how people do it actually. So like, I've been doing this in Salt Lake for 9 years and I can't get clients. People know about me and I can't get clients. So how do I go to a new city and try to get clients? But I guess they've made it work. So that's awesome. I'd love to hear how people do that. But what I would like to do on a Cuddle tour is just come see all of you guys. and come to your events, do the training, see how you guys do stuff, exchange cuddle sessions with other professional cuddlers, and just learn from it that way. That's what I'd love to do on like a cuddle tour.
Yeah.
That does sound fun.
Yeah.
Come to Southern California, June 17th. Oh, sorry.
Okay. No.
You can edit that part out.
Giving Gita more work.
Mm.
Well, speaking of travel and cuddling, Gita came up with a really fascinating scenario that brings in a little bit of sci-fi, which is time travel and cuddling. And I think I understand what he's going for here. It's this experience of having an embodied practice like cuddling that brings you back to a certain moment from your past, that makes it safe to get into maybe more like a childlike state or just some kind of past state, and you're associating like warm feelings that you're getting in the present to maybe more innocent time. And how can those experiences maybe help us deal with current anxieties about things coming up in the future?
We were actually talking about like releasing or uncovering your inner child in our event today. And I feel like that child is there, it's in us, it's our core. Like that never went away the way that we were as a child. We just got programmed and trained to act differently or try to think differently. But those core ideas of play and wonder and freedom, they're still there. They've just been piled on. Yeah. So figuring out how to uncover that and doing it through cuddling is a great way for a lot of people to feel like I don't need all this armor. I can be open and I can express myself and I can have emotional release through this modality of having a safe space. I think it's super valuable. And yeah, I guess I don't know if the time travel aspect is resonating for me, but the connecting to like your inner past, how you were in the past, and how that can affect how you will be in the future. That does.
For me, it's just making me think of like a cuddle time machine where you can go back in time and cuddle your past self. Like maybe you went through something hard and you're like, I wish I had gotten a cuddle then, and like you could be that person for yourself. I kind of connect that to like parts work and like reparenting yourself, like the whole concept of that. And yeah,
that'd be amazing.
I will say that I've had several clients come to me specifically to do some inner child healing. And it's super valuable. And I apparently I have a gift of like holding and saying the right things and just being a safe presence. So I absolutely think it's without the sci-fi like that kind of time travel. Anyway, I just like I'm no longer able to speak, but it I think it's valuable, it's important, and yeah, it can be helpful in healing your inner child.
What direction and innovations would you like to see the cuddle world take in the next year or even decade?
All the directions. I want the cuddle community to get bigger so that we can reach more people. Innovations, I don't know, because when I think when I hear the word innovations, I think like technology and that like that's not quite what that's not what I think of when I think or talk about cuddling. I'm thinking about like boiling it down, not raising up the technology. Like bring it down, bring it more to the personal. Yeah, I've stopped wording a little while ago, so let's call it this.
I feel you. I feel what you're conveying.
Yeah.
Come back to self.
Come back to like true relating. Really, yeah, just one person to person, 1 to 1, 1 to 3, 3 to 5, whatever, but person, just the persons, the humanity, bringing humanity together to connect. I feel like that's what cuddling is about. Humanity and community.
I'd like to see us have more of these kind of storefronts and being able to really support our work, appropriately with income, so that people, those of us that feel called to it, that are really good at it, can actually do this full time if we could get the support back, and have an office, have a storefront, have a cuddle cafe, and I would love to see that. And in the bigger picture, I would really love to see us have some kind of unified organization, fairly loose, because of course one of our strengths is that we've got so much diversity of how people interpret cuddling and how we run our practice or how we do our events. And I love that we're inclusive that way. And I think that is one of our strengths. So if we have, say, a professional association that we could join, that would maybe have, here's best practices, here's vetted training programs, here's resources, here's, we'll negotiate for you to get insurance, and when government starts looking at us, which I hope this is a future that won't happen, but if people are trying to legislate us out of a job, we could have a unified voice with some power behind it to speak to them, to say, look, we have 400 cuddlers, and here's what we all, let us advocate for why this legislation is not cool. I'd love to have some kind of central voice body that we could speak with, because we're all doing our own thing, which is wonderful. However, we don't have much power that way. So yeah, I think someday I want to see that for us, but it's such a fraught road. I mean, there's so many things to think about, like gatekeeping and inclusivity, and how do we manage all of that? And if there's a membership, how do we say who's in and who's not, and how do we scholarships, how do we make it accessible, how do we, there's so many things to think about, and how do we have a unified voice when we are so diverse? Maybe it's not possible, but I do think that there will, unfortunately, my opinion is there will come a time that we will have forces imposed on us from the outside, and if we don't have some kind of a way to answer that as a group, I think that will be detrimental at that point in time. So I'm not sure how to embody that or make that happen, but I hope that's a future that won't happen, or maybe is a long way off. Anyway.
Yeah. Well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any parting words you have? Anything you'd like to say out there to anyone listening or watching who are curious about being a pro-cuddler, trying a session, or attending an event during these times or in the near future?
yeah, I have two thoughts. If you're thinking about it, if you're wondering about it, do it. You know, being in a cuddle event or being with a cuddler is actually a safer space than anywhere else you could be, because we have these agreements that we make up front. And if you don't like the agreements, then you don't have to stay. You can leave right then. It's about figuring out what works for both of us, making the agreement, and then having that framework to be safe in, because we have the agreements. We know how we're going to negotiate, how we're going to work with each other. And then we have that container that we're in. So it's actually safer than anywhere else you could be, I promise. and if you've been thinking about it for this long, it's time to just find somebody and go do it. And if you're really worried, a lot of us do virtual sessions, so you could start with that, and get a taste. And the other thing I was thinking was, if you want to be a professional in this industry, please get training. And there are multiple training courses to do. Cuddle Party Inc., Cuddle Sanctuary. There's online trainings. I forget what Jasmine's calling hers. Sam has a training program, Sam Varner in Snuggle School. There's so many good ones. I think the online Cuddle Up to Me might still be available. I'm not sure. But there's free ones out there too. There's some free things you can find. I know Cuddle Sanctuary has some free webinars available as tasters for their bigger program. So yeah, please, please, please don't. I mean, anybody can hang out a shingle and say they're a cuddler, and that can work, because of the people that get called to this have the talent and the ability, right, already probably built in. The ones that get good at it. The other ones self-select out. But if you get training, you will have the support, you will have the tools, and it will just be so much better, and it just raises everybody up. So yeah, I highly, highly recommend that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, Mary.
You're
I get especially the safety training, if nothing else, because I have concern for folks who just like you say, hang out a shingle and decide, okay, I'm going to be a cuddler, but they don't know how to really be strong in their boundaries, or they don't know how to mitigate a situation that might be uncomfortable, or I just feel like safety training is so important, so important. Yeah. I would also like to say, if you've been considering that possibility of finding a cuddler, or going to a cuddle group or whatever, don't let fear or shame hold you back. Let's see. Oh, what movie is it? We Bought a Zoo. And the quote is, "It only takes 20 seconds of bravery to change your life." So be brave and make the phone call, or do a web search, find a cuddler in your area. Be brave for 20 seconds and walk in the door, and make that agreement to create a better, I don't know, eye makeup that you'll feel better after. So.
Well, I've talked to so many people after a cuddle party or after a cuddle session, and I can't think of any that just said, I wish I would have waited longer to do this. I should have waited 5 more years before I came to this.
Yeah.
Like, nobody says that. They all say, I wish I'd found you earlier. I wish I knew about this before this other thing happened to me. I wish I had these tools. I wish I had these. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the things that I love about the cuddle groups, is learning like these really clear consent practices, and how then to take them into the world and use them in life.
Yes.
So
that is the bigger message, and that's what I say in my circles. It's so fresh for me because I just did it. Of like, yes, we love the cuddling, we love the touch, but really this is about communication. This is about conversation and connection with other human beings, which we do all day long, hopefully. And the tools that we learn here in Cuddle stuff will teach us how to do that well in all of our connections through all of life. And I always say, I hope that you will take these things home and it will empower you to have, better communication and better connections with everything you do. Even with eye gazing with the checker at the grocery store, having that moment of connection could like fuel your week, and now you know how to do it. So yay.
Yeah, raises our awareness, raises our vibration.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you guys feel after the interview? How are you guys feeling in your body?
Feeling good. Sorry, I have to crochet because I have like I don't know. I
knew you were crocheting because
sorry. I'm just like,
I've just started crocheting.
Yeah.
I'm making a bunting
Sweet.
moment, so that's my current project.
Cool.
Making a scarf.
I need a fiddle. I'm sorry. It helps me focus with you guys. So I apologize if it was distracting.
Oh
no, it was totally off camera.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I just thought you were falling asleep because your eyes were down. No, I'm kidding. I knew it.
That was cool. I was like, yeah, she's crocheting, I think.
The telltale signs of needlework.
Telltale signs. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm glad I was part of this conversation. I was originally going to take this time off. I told Gita that I'm like, I'm traveling, I'm back in Salt Lake, I'm visiting constantly. Let me come back in July. And so he was honoring me, and lovely Jo and Alyssa stepped in to be the hosts, and then he said, well, we don't have enough panelists, can you come? And I'm like, sure, I don't have to prep, I can just come, and I happen to be free, so I was like, okay. But yeah, this is a great conversation. I think it's really worthwhile to have. And yeah, I hope we can keep talking about these things, because we are an industry, and we are it's bigger than all of us. Like this, the whole is bigger than the sum of its parts, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. And these kind of conversations will fuel that to be, a better outcome in the future. I completely believe. Yeah. So thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mary.
I'm preparing my
you
cuddle
doing?
monkeys.
Awesome.
Show
Bring
you
on the cuddle
of
monkeys.
the episode.
Yeah, we need the cuddle of the episode.
Yep. So the cuddle that I would like to demonstrate is called cheek to cheek stargazing. So normal stargazing, you're laying side by side and you're both facing the same way. So let's see if I can get this on here like this. And so I got really curious, and I thought, what would happen if it was one person was turned around and then you had your heads right next to each other. Kind as to Grace was so kind as to indulge me in trying this out at her most recent cuddle event, and it was very nice until it got a little warm and uncomfortable with our cheeks touching, but it was nice up until that point. I enjoyed it.
And you can stretch your arms out and hold hands. I've done that, but you need a big floor space. So
and she stroked my hair with it was this one. That was really nice.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. Yeah.
And my face.
I've done it kind of like that before, but then like have the head up all the way up on your shoulder. Yeah, more like that.
Yeah.
So you can talk, and yeah, that's kind of nice too, because then you're both looking at the same thing, and
and that could be good when it's hot, when you don't want lots and lots of, because I've noticed in the winter and summer there's slightly different. Because if it's really hot, then you don't want a lot of bodily contact.
Right.
That could be good.
Yeah, it's like, I need to touch somebody, but you can't touch me because it's too hot.
Maybe we can address that on our next episode, how to cuddle when it's too hot.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, how do you cuddle when you really need to sleep, but when you want to cuddle? If you have an overnight partner, like, yeah, that's a hard one for me, like, because cuddling is active in my mind.
Yeah, you can't
Mhm.
consent if you're
Yeah.
asleep.
Yeah, you can't consent, and yeah, and when I'm cuddling, I can't really fall asleep if I'm really actively cuddling. So yeah,
Oh, interesting.
yeah. Because I'm being present, I'm energy is moving, and
Yeah.
I do fall asleep eventually, but yeah, it's like I have to almost consciously be like, okay, I'm stopping cuddling now, and now I'm sleeping.
Mm.
But
Uh,
yeah.
Let's just check in with Grace. How are you feeling, Grace, after the interview?
oh, thanks for asking. No, I'm feeling really good. I'm so grateful that I was able to join and be part of the conversation. Thank you.
Right. So before I go into the Nurtured Nerds promos that I want to share, what about Jo, Grace, Mary? Do any of you have things you want to share about what you're offering, how we can get in touch with you?
Sure. Yeah, I have a website at marycuddler.com. It is a little out of date, but yeah, I'm still doing most of the same stuff. And I also can be reached at marycuddler@gmail.com. And my groups in Salt Lake are under Meetup Utah Cuddle Club. So yeah, you can find me there. And I'd love to hear from anybody who wants to talk to me. I do virtual sessions if you're out, or if you're going to be down in Boquete in Panama, I'll be doing sessions.
Mhm.
Got a few in-person events happening here in Salt Lake while I'm here in June. So yeah, and I'd love to travel around and do stuff. So if anybody wants to bring me in for a cuddle party, just pay for my travel and I'll be there.
Hear that, Grace? We got to get Mary into one of
Yeah,
your events.
I hear.
I'd love it.
Okay. I am, yeah, so you can reach me at gracefulcuddles.com, gracefulcuddles@gmail.com. I'm hosting monthly events. My next one is June 17th. It's a Saturday from 7 to 10 p.m. Kind of different for me because I usually do them in the afternoons, but this time it's an evening, so yay. Um, and
Do you know when the July one will be?
uh, not yet.
Okay.
Like if you ask me in 2 days, I'll have the answer, but not yet. Um,
So where can we find your events that you post on Eventbrite?
you can find me on Eventbrite, Graceful Cuddle Workshop, or you can find the information on my website also, gracefulcuddles.com. Um, and on Meetup, on the Cuddle Sanctuary Meetup site, I post my events there as well.
Awesome.
I am also available for one-on-one cuddling and virtually as well as in person. Yeah, there you go.
Wonderful. And my website is cuddlehaven.com.au. I'm in Perth, Australia, and I offer one-on-one cuddling, mentor sessions, virtual sessions, and park relaxation sessions. And you can find all of that on my website.
Park relaxation sessions?
In the park.
I want to go to the park with you.
Maybe not at the moment because it's winter.
Oh,
Maybe on a fine day in our beautiful winter, but yeah,
all right.
next session. Definitely come over to my park.
I love cuddling in the park.
Mm.
So far I haven't done any professional sessions in the park, but I've had some personal cuddles in the park and I love it. It's so fun.
That's lovely. As a matter of fact, when we were coming back from um, shutdown, I did some park cuddling, so that because we could all be outdoors, and it was nice. They were lovely. I feel lucky that I have several lovely parks in my area. So
I've done a couple cuddle parties in the park, which has been really fun.
nice.
Yeah.
How about you, Alyssa?
For Nurtured Nerds, we have our website, nurturednerds.com. Also look for us on YouTube, although you probably already have if you're listening to this. We have lots of episodes on our channel. yeah, we'll have links in the description for all of this stuff. Membership is free. Please join us, and you have a chance to win a new member care package in our next raffle. Make sure to subscribe to us to get notified if we post a new episode. And for any comments or questions or requests, we're always open, so please send that. We have a Facebook community page, Nurtured Nerds Community, and our Instagram, Discord server, and Twitch stream are coming soon. And for those wanting to join Nurtured Nerds, you can email nurturednerdsnewbies@gmail.com. And you can find us on Meetup under Nurtured Nerds. I know Crystal is offering some things under there, some events. And we have, every weekend we have a Nerd Break, a virtual community event. So I host events on the third Sunday of every month. So I'll be hosting one on June 18th. And then the next one after that will be July 16th, and so on. And for that, we play a game called Create the Love. It's a card game with questions that promote connection and vulnerability. And it's a very wonderful space to be in, to be held and to be seen. And yeah, I know that we have a nice core group of people that have come almost every week, and it's been wonderful. But we're always looking for new people who are interested in playing that with us.
Thank you. And I host the second weekend of each month, where we usually play Scribble, which is an online fun game, and yeah, just hang out and connect and have fun. Very light. That's my kind of theme, is light and playful and kind of improv.
So that means you're going to have one next weekend. What day?
I haven't decided.
You don't know yet? Okay.
We on the Nurtured Nerds Facebook page.
Yes.
I will post that during the week.
Awesome. All right. So I guess I'll let you guys know what is in the new member raffle care package. We got some great loot, a free 30-minute virtual session with a professional cuddler after you have an intake screening call with them. Mary's ebook on cuddling and connection, the art of authenticity. We have a gift card to buy a video game of your choice, and a chance to submit a question for a future podcast. And also you will get a discount for our raid, the course called Jerk Proof Your Relationships, offered by Cassandra Brown. So just so many wonderful things. And Gita wants us all to know we're working on designing our next side quest, so stay tuned. And our raffle is every 3 months. So if you miss one, you can be in the next one. Are we feeling nurtured?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Well, it's that time. Give yourself a hug if you feel so inclined.
Yeah, I invite you to gently hug yourself if you feel that that's yes. Well, sending my love from wintry Perth over to your summery America. And thank you for having me on as co-host. I really appreciate it. I'm feeling really good. Feeling my body and connected.
Thank you all.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Alyssa. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mary. See you next time. Bye.
Done.
Grace is like, boom.
Oh, Grace is out.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Nurtured Nerds Epic Podcast.
Come join us and get cuddly, get gaming, get nerdy,
And get
and get
nurtured.
nurtured. Yeah, it's important because there's only one other cuddler in Perth doing this, so I feel isolated. Being
Yeah.
isolated here in Perth. So it always is nice to connect virtually with other cuddlers around the world. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ah.